Hello, my name is William Kumwembe and this is Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. And in the program today, we look at trends on the maize market as the harvesting season gets to its peak. And also, inflation eases in the past month. We have a report. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome. This is Business Time. And in our main story in the program today, Malawi is an agrarian economy. And of course, maize remains the country's staple commodity. Movement of prices in as far as maize is concerned has a bearing in as far as the economy is concerned vis-a-vis inflationary trends. Now, we have been following trends since the onset of the harvesting season to see how maize prices are faring on the market. Our journalist Yamikan Kajaje has the whole story.
The International Food Policy Research Institute report says the monthly average retail price for maize in April was 171 kwacha per kilogram, lower than the previous month when it was fetching at 181 kwacha per kilogram. Vendors in Blantyre have attributed the trends to the ongoing harvesting season, coupled with government's order to have Admark buying the commodity at 150 kwacha per kilogram.
Normally, we vendors set buying and selling prices for commodities. However, from the time the government set minimum prices, it has been difficult to come up with ones that are attractive to customers.
It is currently not going well because many of the potential customers we would sell to have now harvested their own maize.
Tamaninkoni Vula is an agricultural expert.
I think as we are going towards the end of the rainy season and most of the farmers are now harvesting, there is a high likelihood that the prices of maize on the market they're going to go down because the supply of maize is now high, and most of the people that depend on the market for their food supplies, most of them have harvested. Next 2 or 3 months, we should expect still the prices to be low. But when we will be going to maybe around September, October, November, then the prices are likely going to pick up. But of course, for this year, because we have got we are expecting a better harvest as compared to last year, I don't think the prices will be as high as it was the case last year and the other years.
Malawi is expecting a bumper harvest this year, which is also expected to impact on maize price trends.
Meanwhile, inflation eased to 9.2% in April, down from 9.4% during the preceding month. Largely, this is attributed to the onset of the harvesting season. As Eria alluded to, maize plays a critical role as it constitutes 45% of the consumer price index. However, some consumers feel there is still some prices of some commodities that remain high on the market and they're still feeling the pinch. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi reports.
This is coming against expectations that the country's inflation would enjoy a downward trajectory following a bumper yield anticipated during the harvesting period. However, since December last year, headline inflation has been on an upward trajectory and closed at 9.4% at the end of March 2021, the highest recorded figure since April 2020. However, headline inflation eased to 9.2% in April. According to an April economic review published by the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, MCCCI, since December last year, non-food inflation has continued to be on an upward trajectory and closed at 7.0% in April 2021 compared to 6.9% recorded in March 2021. And these are views of Malawians on inflation trends.
I think some prices of things have changed and others haven't changed, but most of the things have changed. For instance, cooking oil cooking oil has gone up in terms of prices. And if we look at commodities like sugar and soap, I think most of the things have gone up. I don't expect them to come down anytime soon because, as we see, they are justifying their hiking of prices in terms of the sellers. Because whenever people complain about the prices, and we don't see anything changing.
Okay, so there's been an unbelievable increase in commodity prices in Malawi, especially now that we've seen that the driving force of prices such as fuel has increased. Now the little people like us are suffering the most because now transporting or importing or exporting has become at a higher expense. So I think the prices have increased, but I would love to see how we can subsidize some of these things, because despite the increase in commodities, we have no increases in salaries, we have no increases in livelihood. So how do we expect Malawi to develop in that state? So yeah, it's a really saddening situation, and hopefully it can get better.
Things are tough now. Prices have been on the increase since last year. Even materials that I buy for my furniture business, everything has gone up, that customers can no longer afford our products.
And Bechani Chereni is Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences economist.
The trend of inflation so far, if you look at the history, it has been okay. But when we look at what is happening now, we believe that there's going to be some jump. It is going to increase a bit. Because when we look at what is happening on the macroeconomic front and also in terms of the economic activities out there, we think that inflation is not going to be as stable or as low. It is going to go up. Why? Because we know that, for example, certain commodities, the prices have been going up. We have in mind, for example, fuel. We have in mind cooking oil. We have in mind the other items as well. And we also know that we are still having a high demand for imports. And we also know that our exports have not been as good. So when we bring in all those activities together, all those organizations together, we don't really think that inflation is going to be as low, as much as that's what we would have desired. So if you look at it critically, you realize that maybe to indicate that inflation is going to be as low as 5%, it may not be as accurate.
Presenting the 2021-2022 national budget, Minister of Finance Felix Mlusu indicated that inflation rate for 2021 is projected at 7.5%, while for 2022 inflation is pegged at 7.3%.
Remember, this is Business Time on Times Television, and my name is William Kumwebe. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. We'll be right back, and when we get back, we'll look at the future of cryptocurrencies in the country. That's when we get back inside Business Time. Welcome back. This is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. Now, the concept of savings and credit cooperatives seem to be gradually gaining momentum in the country. Of late, we've seen a number of SACCOs posting surplus compared to the previous year in as far as their performance is concerned. The country is advocating savings and investment culture, and SACCOs are becoming one of the most reliable vehicles for savings and investment. I caught up with Fumbani Nyangulu, who is Chief Executive Officer of MUSCO, to shed more light on how the institutions are positioned to take the country towards the desired destination of financial inclusion.
The issue of savings and then accessing credit through SACCOs has not been very well embraced by all Malawians, just like the Kenyans have done, or Tanzanians have done, or Ghanaians have done. And yet it is a very, very good concept that if all of us can really hold hands and promote the issue of savings through circles, and then by the end of the day, people are able to access credit for development. For me, this will definitely change the economic status of the country.
You are saying that the circle concept or the circle idea was first embraced in the 1970s, but we're talking of decades down the line, and at the same time, it's not fully embraced by Malawians. What is at stake, and what does the future hold in as far as circles are concerned?
You see, when we talk of, let's say, encouraging people to start saving, it is so difficult for people to accept that, because people have always believed that we are poor, we don't get enough, and therefore it is not possible to save. But I think studies have shown all over the world that even the poor can save. Now, when you talk of, let's say, credit, let me invite people around the table to say, come here, come and borrow. We have a lot of people, because people believe that I need to borrow for me to start a business. I need to borrow to do this. But I can assure you, for sustainability, you need to start saving. So it is the issue of saving that sometimes has not been very well embraced by people, and yet it is a very, very, very big concept, very, very good concept. So it is slow growing, because we have not changed our mindset to believe that we can grow our savings, that each and every person can start saving even from a small level, and it will not be the same in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years.
Now, despite the concept of credit and savings being embraced by some Malawians, let's be frank, we're operating in an environment where access to finance is one of the greatest challenges, and the peer-to-peer kind of financing or funding has become one of the options. How systematically are SACCOs positioned to leverage of this chance that has availed itself in the country?
Well, going by statistics, you can see that maybe 10 years back, 20 years back, we didn't even have these self-forming or what they call the village banks or the village savings and loans association. In Chichewa they call banking condes. They are all over in the country. You know, this is a sign that people have now started learning a concept of saving, because people are saving in those VSLAs and they're able to access credit. What are we saying in the circle? It is now moving from that small group now to growing that bigger, growing that concept to a bigger level, that people now should be owning that in quotes bank, that they're able to save in a bigger picture now. So many VSLs coming together, so many people coming together, and they save money together using the kind of same concept, and then they are lending money to each other. Now these circles are now properly regulated. Once you get into regulation, it means now it is serious business. You are talking of people's, the people's savings being safe. Now you are growing that concept more or less like a bank. It means we're moving from that informal kind of saving now to formal kind of structure, so that those savings are even they even channel to the financial systems of the country, and now they're being they're being counted as part of the systems that can be used to grow the economy.
Lastly, any take-home message, be it to the SACCO's prospective members and the landscape at large?
The message is, please join a SACCO. You see, in a SACCO, you are more or less like forced to start saving. If you are employed, for example, they deduct from your salary at source, could be 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and then you become used to that. Over time, let's say after 5 years, you are never the same. You have somewhere at least where you can lean on in times of need. At least you have started building your own capital. Because you are saving, you want to send a child to school, all you need to do, they will not allow you to just withdraw that money out. They will give you a short-term loan. You are servicing a loan, your capital is also growing. For some of us, that's how we learn the concept of saving. And I believe most Malawians would benefit from that kind of system. And that's why we are encouraging us all to join SACCOs and the policy making forums. Let's make sure that we encourage development of the SACCOs and we support them accordingly.
Now, Malawi is yet to adopt cryptocurrency as a legal tender, as the Reserve Bank of Malawi, regulator of the financial market, is still consulting on the advantages versus the disadvantages of the idea. Of course, there is pressure from some experts to say it's high time the country moves with time, as other countries across the globe are using cryptocurrency as a legal tender. Our journalist Yamikan Kajaje has been speaking to some of the experts and has since filed this report.
Cryptocurrencies are becoming popular each passing year despite the absence of a proper regulatory body. ICTM President Bran Fuzulani says delays in recognizing cryptocurrencies as a legal tender by governments has fueled illegal use of the same world over.
I think there are quite a number of areas or issues that are affecting the adoption of the cryptocurrency in Malawi. So you have the regulatory aspect, and then you have the consumer awareness aspect in terms of whether it's safe to trade on the cryptocurrencies, or whether this is acceptable form of transacting as far as the Reserve Bank of Malawi is concerned. But technology will not wait for us. So that is why you find that right now, if you go on the internet, you find that there are a lot of Malawians trading on the Bitcoin, or they are buying Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin, even though the authorities are saying as a country we're not ready, or regulations are not in place yet, because this is a new technology and we're still learning how it operates and how it poses risks on the consumer side.
However, critics have faulted cryptocurrencies in areas of investment because of its volatility, owing to the absence of a central regulatory authority. Wiza Jalakasi is a Malawian cryptocurrency expert based in Kenya.
Very volatile asset. The price swings wildly with any events that take place in the market. So it's not a stable asset. I think it's going to continue to be unstable for some time because it's really early. When it comes to Bitcoin specifically, it's the first ever implementation of a cryptocurrency that was put in place, particularly right now, the primary use cases are mostly like speculative investment. But the future of cryptocurrency might not be Bitcoin. There already are stable coins today, such as USDC, USD coin.
Local authorities have indicated in recent years that they are evaluating the viability of adopting use of cryptocurrencies in Malawi.
Now, in other business news, the ICT Association of Malawi, ICTM, has organized an ICT Expo, a platform where experts would discuss the future of technology for Malawi. Bram Fuzulani is president for the association and caught up with our Lilongwe-based journalist, Taonga Sabola.
It's a second ICT Expo, International ICT Expo. The first one we had in 2019. We could not hold the second one last year due to the COVID pandemic. But this year we want to sort of bring together all the stakeholders and look into a number of issues, just building from the first one that we had, but also taking advantage of the tremendous success that we have had due to COVID-19 in terms of ICT utilization and adoption as a country. There are a number of activities. There are papers that are presented through our academia in terms of research, but also there is product exhibitions from a number of players. So we usually have banks, other stakeholders that would come and showcase their products. But most importantly is the actual discussion that happened at the Expo. Some of the discussions that happen at this forum have influenced policy change. So we're expecting this year to have quite a number of activities. As you are aware, I think since the change of the government, there are quite a number of changes that have happened in terms of supporting local businesses. So we're also looking at how does the government support the local ICT business sector. in terms of organizing the small MSMEs within the ICT sector, and let government support them through the awarding of contracts, or even appreciating their innovation that they have in as far as supporting the government operations is concerned. So we usually have exhibitions. You can call it actually ICT fair, pretty much, because we have exhibition stand where we have a lot of organizations lining up their product and services and innovations. So we have private organizations, even government, academia, even end users who will have their innovations, exhibited within these stands. And then on the other hand, you have presentations and discussions, panel discussions that will touch on critical issues that are happening right now within our country. What we're trying to achieve, so the theme is mobilizing businesses using digital technologies beyond COVID-19 crisis. If you look at the businesses in our economy, they have been impacted by the pandemic. But what we're saying is we want to mobilize businesses to start using the digital technologies so that we can move beyond the COVID-19 crisis. How do we use technology? What has worked during the COVID-19 and what didn't work? And then we want to build on that to support the local businesses, but also to support the government agenda of building the economy beyond the COVID-19 through the use of technology. So, for example, the first ICT Expo inaugurated in 2019, one of the key issues that was discussed was that as a country we need to revise our ICT policy, which is the 2013 ICT policy.
Well, on that note, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.